Welcome back to another video at Joe's Toolbox Exchange. One of you guys reached out and asked me to show how to add extra slides to a toolbox. It's the same for if you want to replace a slide also. So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to remove the drawers. We're going to show how to add a slide, how to remove a slide, and then how to put the drawers back on. The process is the same for all snap-on boxes. This specific box is a KTL 1022. If you go to shopsnapon.com and type in your model number, at the very bottom of that page you'll see the service parts catalog, and it'll list the model number for the slide for each of the boxes. All 29-inch Snap-on use the same slide, but the Classics and the 24-inch Masters and Carts are going to have different slides. They are covered under the lifetime warranty, so a lot of times your dealer will provide these to you for free, but you're going to have to figure out the labor for yourselves. The first time I did this, it was kind of hard, so it's not that bad once you know what you're doing. Really all you need is a soft face dead blow and a pry bar tool. Either of these will work, but in my experience, having a bar with a slight wedge like this Snap-on is a lot easier than a flat face here. To start, the slides when you receive them will be assembled. You're going to have to take them apart in two pieces. So if you open the slide all the way up, you'll see a tab right here. If you pull this tab, this will give you the piece that stays on the drawer, and this is the part that stays on the box. To remove the drawers, it's the same tab if you want to show that on this side. You just pull this little tab. Sometimes on the older slides they have a lever. The lever you'll just pull up or push down depending on what side you're working on. But for this model, you just pull this piece back and push the slide out of the way. And the same thing. And now the drawer is free. And I'm just going to remove that one. And the slide we're going to be replacing or adding is actually this bottom drawer. We took this one out just to give us a little bit more room to work, and so we can get the camera in there so you guys can see how it pulls out. Same exact thing for this drawer. You just pull those tabs with one finger. Sometimes they take a little bit of love to get them out, especially if the box is older. I find that rhythmically pulling it out sometimes makes it come out smoother without tweaking the drawer. So the drawer slide we're going to be adding is on this side today. So here's the slide that stays on the box. This tab is going to be on the front. And you are going to push this back tab in here first, if you can see this, on the back of the slide. And then the rest of it you can see here. And here they're just starting to engage. If you push in and up, it'll click into place. Very audible. If you want to note this right here, there are these two screw holes on the sides of the slide. The only time I see these used is if someone's taking the wheels off and using this as a road box. It'll help the slide stay secure if you're bouncing around on the road all day inside of a trailer or back of a service truck. But as they ship from the factory, there is no screws there. Next, we are going to add this slide, and I will show you here. This little piece is actually what retentions the slide in. So this is the piece we're going to be fighting here today to get to clip in. Once this piece locks in, the slide will not come out. If you want to show in here, there's a bunch of rails all the way to the back. These are the different locations of where you could put the slides. This is why you can move around the box drawers pretty easily if you want the big one on the top and the small ones on bottom. They are slotted for every possible option. The slide we're doing today, judging by this box, is going to be one slide above the factory slide. So I'm going to use this position here. I'm going to push these out of the way. I want this end, the opening end, towards the front of the box. And what we're going to do is, same as with the drawer, we're going to slide this piece in and then we're going to pop it down. It'll take a little bit more force on this. So I slide the back in and then I I set it on top. A lot of times what I like to do is open the drawer for the leverage, and as you could hear, it clicked in. This slide is now installed. As you can see, it moves freely. Now to put the drawer back in, something I really want to make important is you got to move these bearings forward. You'll see these bearings here. They a lot of times will be slid back. You want them pressed all the way forward, otherwise your drawer's not going to seat correctly, and you can actually bend these tabs as you go and all the bearings will pop out. And you got to buy a new slide. So we're going to take the box in. Something I have noticed when you're doing a box with multiple slides, sometimes it's easier to just focus on the bottom two until the box is set. So this was the bottom drawer. And if you want to come on this side so they can see, it's now sitting in there. I have these pieces slid forward, so I just want to walk that in, walk that in. Now I got it about this far. I'm going to focus on the next slide. All three slides are engaged. In order to seat the slides, it takes a little bit of force. I like to kind of give it a, really pay attention to make sure it's feeling smooth. All right, so now the drawer is back installed. It has an extra slide on the left side. The same process for the right side. As you can see, the drawer is smooth. The slide we put back on had some corrosion on it, which is why we actually had this slide laying around, because it was off of a box that we had repaired the slides on or replaced the slides on. So it's not super smooth, but you can see the drawer does work. When we get a box in like that with the slides, we try to replace them before we sell them, so that way you guys are getting a box that functions like new. Now to remove the slides a little bit trickier. You're going to want to disengage all three of those slides. The drawer is now free. There's the drawer. And this is where you're going to need the pry bars. So we're removing the top slide here. This is one we just put on. So I'm going to push these out of the way. So when we were looking at that slide, it had that little tab I was talking about. That little tab sits right behind this opening. So for all the slides, it's about right here. So what I need to do is create a gap between this metal and this slide so it'll no longer be locked in. You can do this with a pry bar tool. Sometimes I find it's easier to get a little bit of an opening here. And then once you have that opening, you can get in there with something with a little bit more thickness on it. So I'm just driving this wedge in slightly in order to create that gap. I don't know if you can see it. You see there's a gap at the top of this slide. That is going to enable it to pull out. I like to open the slide up and a little bit ping right here. And there's your drawer slide back out. And then in order to get it out, just slide it forward. There's your drawer slide. If you want to show the inside of the box here, this method really doesn't cause any damage. I mean, I'll show it from here. You know, there's no wear marks. There's some grease from my hands, but other than that, looks the way it was. And then we'll take this, put the drawer back in. Before we do that, we're going to have to remove the extra half of the slide that is still on the box. If you want to come over here so you can see this. This is the little tensioner tab on this one. It's very similar. So on this side, I'm just gonna, if you want to show this right here, I'm just gonna slide my pry bar in here, my trim pad tool, give it a little tap to create that separation. And then now if I just tap right here, the slide is gonna fall out. So now that the slide's back off of the box, as you can see once again, There's really no damage to any of the drawer here. This metal is pretty flexible, so it can flex in and out without bending it permanently. It's much easier to do this if you have two people, especially with this big top drawer or this drawer here, because they have 4 slides on them and it's pretty heavy when you're trying to hold it and get it positioned back in. Even with the small drawers, if you have 2 people, it's a lot easier if one person's holding each side and able to line up the slides. So I hope this video answers any questions you have about replacing them or adding a secondary set of slides to some of the bottom drawers, or even this drawer, whatever drawer you wanted, it's always the same. The classics are going to be the same. The heritage are the same. If I think even the new classic series right behind you here has the same exact pull style. I wish I had an example. This one does. Okay, so if you want to come in on this side, this is the second tab I was talking about. On some of the slides, they have a little lever here. This is most common on the classics. So in order to do this, instead of pulling that tab towards you, you're just pushing it up and sliding it out. And since it's the same slide on both sides, on this one, you're just gonna push it down to slide it out. So now this drawer would pull all the way out. That's pretty much the method. Other than that, it's the exact same between all of the series. So if you guys have any other questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to make a video that specifically goes into detail on that. Thank you for watching.